Hello and welcome to my speedrun of the Mega Man Battle Network 3 time trials. There's a lot to explain in the short amount of time that I have before the battles start, so I'll get right to it. So in the post-game of Battle Network 3, there is a side mission you can take on where you have to fight 14 bosses and delete them as quickly as possible. However, you are only allowed to use one of the preset folders instead of one of your own folders. This means that I have to find a preset folder somewhere in the game and then I'm stuck with it. I can't edit it, however, I can edit the customizer, which is basically your equipment. So the folder I have chosen is known as the Snake folder. In-game, it's called N1 Folder C. And the gimmick of this folder is that it has the snake chips, which make a bunch of snakes come out of holes on your side of the field and attack the enemy. So, in order to facilitate the use of this chip, I have used a customizer bug. The way the customizer works is that you can install a bunch of programs. However, if you don't follow a specific set of rules, then bugs come up. However, those bugs can actually be turned to your advantage. And one of the bugs I have is that on my side of the field, you can see that all of my panels start out cracked. That's because I used one of the programs that alters your side of the field to give it a different terrain. And because of the bug, it now gives me a bunch of cracked panels, which means I can open them all up like this by stepping over them, and then activate the snake chip for a bunch of damage. Each one of those snakes does 40 damage at base. It's a wood element chip, so Flashman, an electric Navi, he took double damage from it. So only one snake was needed to really destroy Flashman. I don't know why I waited for 3 of them. So up next is Beastman, who jumps around the field a lot, and he can typically break the panels on your side of the field because he jumps into them. I've also got another customizer program installed called Reflect, and you just saw it in action right there. You push left and B at the same time, and a shield comes up, and if your opponent is on the same row as you, and they hit the shield, then they take 100 damage, no questions asked. You can also destroy some obstacles with Reflect. So as you can see, he's making it a bit difficult to open all of the holes. However, with 7 holes, each one of those snakes does 40 damage, so you kind of have to do a little bit of math if you want this to go as quickly as possible. But there are also 2 chips in the folder, Attack plus 10 and Wood plus 30. These each do exactly what you think they do. They take the chips and increase the amount of damage they do. It's a Wood plus 30, so it works with Snake, which is a wood chip, and Attack plus 10 works on anything. And you can imagine how that makes the amount of damage that you do with the snake chips just pile up a lot. So, against Bullman, nobody likes this boss, by the way. And I have a heat element style equipped. What my style does is I have a custom style, so it increases the number... It essentially increases my hand size. It's very easy to compare Battle Network to a card game with the way the chip folder and the chips that you draw work. So anyways, I got very lucky here. There is a bit of RNG to this folder because you have to get lucky and have the snakes come out very early in order to defeat the bosses as quickly as possible. However, learning to adapt by using alternate damage sources such as Reflect and the other chips in your folder is also very important. Also take note that whenever one of Bubbleman's bubbles are above one of your holes, a snake isn't going to come out of those because it doesn't register as an empty hole. That's going to be important for some other bosses later. Next up is Desert Man, who was very annoying to find a strat for. I did try out a couple of the other possible folders and strategies for this side mission. However, the Snake folder just turned out to be the most consistent if you want to complete all 14 bosses in one sitting, which is what I'm doing here. And yes, I have to sit still and take that fist to the face over and over again because holes eventually return to normal after you've stepped off of them, so I don't want to step off of them too early, otherwise I won't be able to use the snakes with them. I've also got a cannonball chip, 3 of them in fact. These cannonball chips do 160 damage, but they're very hard to hit the enemy with. Luckily, Desert Man is completely static. He won't move unless attacked. Now, another thing that's going to come up is the Panel Out 3 chip that I have. You can see that I've used it to make more holes, and I used the Panel Grab to make the blue tile red so that it counts as one of my holes, and now I've got all 3 snakes. There's a lot of snakes and holes going on here. Let's hope we can keep our minds out of the gutter. Anyways, this should be enough to get rid of Desert Man. Unfortunately, you have to wait for him to reform himself. And you also want to make sure that you don't activate Snake when the fist is over one of the holes. Actually, the fist can't go into a tile with an open hole. That's very strange. I didn't realize that until just now, watching this video again. Anyways, there are 3 more bosses in the first of the post-game areas. They're all the way down here. And the first one is Plant Man. Snakes in the grass is what we're dealing with here. So Plant Man has an attack where he shoots needles at you. It's very easy to reflect back at him, but the problem is that he kind of has to stay in the same row as you in order for the damage to be reflected at him. So that's a teensy bit annoying. He's winding up for an attack, after which you will put up a leaf shield, which will block one attack and heal him if you hit it. So I'm just going to use the cannonball to hit him out of that attack so that he doesn't put the shield back up. And he has to be relatively close to you in order for the reflected shots to actually hit him. That's a little bit strange, but whatever. I'm not going to be able to stop him from putting up the shield, but it's no problem. You just shoot him with one buster shot, and that basically gets rid of the shield, and you don't have to worry about accidentally healing him. Alright, so I'm going to, I think I make a mistake here. No, actually. Well, I do make a bit of a mistake. I thought that I could use the panel out ship to make another hole. Unfortunately, if you hit a hole with a panel out ship, it doesn't turn the surrounding tiles into holes, which was a little bit annoying. If I get a little bit lucky, I'll have another snake chip in my hand right here, but unfortunately that did not happen. So I'm going to have to wait a little bit. Another customizer program that I have installed is Fast Gauge, which halves the amount of time it takes for you to be able to draw more chips. That's why it's going so quickly. It's essential for the time trials, because since you can't customize the folder yourself, you can't do the standard move of putting a Fast Gauge chip and then fixing it so that it always appears first in your hand. That is something you can do, but because I'm forced to use the preset folders, that's not an option. So the Fast Gauge customizer program is essential. So up next is Flame Man. He's a bit of a gimmick boss. You can see those two candles behind him. If they are glowing green, then they will actually make him invincible. So we don't want that. So eventually, I've got a chip, luckily, that can deal with the candles instantly. It's called Single Bomb. It lobs a bomb that will destroy both of the candles in one shot. So I just have to do that and everything will be fine. Now the candles come back eventually, and they can actually come back in 3 different colors. Green, which you just saw, orange, which makes these 2 little flames circle around your side of the field, and red, which will heal him. It's perfectly okay to have a orange or red candle, as long as there's no green, because then you can't damage him at all. And something funny that you can actually do is that when these little fireballs come out, you can actually reflect them, and if Flame Man is on the same row as you, he will take damage too. So you could just reflect over and over again instead of relying on the snakes. However, in this video, I went with the snakes because this is actually a relatively new idea. I don't think anyone's really tried speedrunning the time trials specifically in order to try to get them done as quickly as possible in one sitting. That's not something you would typically see. But I didn't really feel like putting together a speedrun of the entire Battle Network 3 game. I mean, I love this game, but doing it all in one sitting would probably be kind of taxing on me. That's why I choose speedruns that only take a little bit of time, relatively speaking. But hey, if I can get Battle Network into a marathon, that'd be great, because Battle Network deserves it. I should have reflected there, it would have probably been just a little bit faster. But you get all your health back after every time trial, so no problem. And next up is the boss that nobody likes at all in Battle Network 3, Drill Man, and you can see right away why nobody likes him. So he goes up into the air, and then he just does this move over and over again. Well, he does it, well, there are other moves he can do, of course, but this is his most prominent move. And the thing is, those drills, you can't block them with Reflect, and yeah, unless you have a breaking chip, which is a chip that can smash through the drill's just going to be blocking all of your regular shots. I caught him with a single bomb there, which was actually pretty cool. Probably didn't change a whole lot. It's still going to take the same number of snakes in order to defeat him, but luckily, you've probably noticed already, as long as the enemy is not, as long as the enemy does not have invincibility frames, the snakes don't care. They will just go through anything to find their target. Like, the only way a snake doesn't find its target is if there, first of all, if there is no target. Drill Man is off screen a lot of the time in this fight. But also, if the snake appears, like, further to the right of the boss, then it's not going to be able to find its target. But you can see that these snakes just go around the drills. The drills can block your holes just like the bubbles in the Bullman fight, but no matter, I had more than enough snakes to deal with Drill Man. And now we need to move on to the next area. Since there's a lot of walking between each of the 3 secret areas, there is a chance that I will run into an encounter on the way to the next boss. And that's what happened here. There is a chip you can use that will reduce the encounter rate, but I don't think it works in the secret area. The way that chip works is that, depending on your HP level, it will either repel all of the enemies or some of them, and I don't think your HP can physically be high enough in order to repel the enemies in the secret areas. So, here we are at the next boss. It's Metal Man. No, he's not a dentist. Nobody is going to understand that reference. So, Metal Man has these two metal gears, which are actually not references to Metal Gear, but yeah. The reflex strategy is probably the best way to go because the snakes actually don't stun him. He cannot be stunned by anything. He'll have invincibility frames, which you can't hit him out of any attacks, and this area grab isn't going to stun him like it would the other bosses. So probably getting him to do a move that you can reflect, like this metal blade attack, that's probably your best bet, but I still have the snakes as a backup. So you can see that by using the area grab chip to create more of my own tiles, you can create holes on those tiles, and then that means more snakes. So that is a part of the strategy that I think I haven't explained yet. So definitely for this fight, learning to use your other chips other than snake is going to be a very important part of the strategy. Luckily, I've drawn the last snake, so this is the end of Metal Man. Again, the snakes, they don't care about the metal gears. They will go through anything in order to find their target. So this area is actually a little bit confusing and I had to make a map for it, but after going through this teleporter, we can find the next boss. It is Gutsman, who is very courteous because he has a move that sets up the very strategy that we are trying to work with here. That is to say, he has a move that cracks all of your panels, and any cracked panels will turn into holes. He'll use it in just a moment after I hit him with a cannonball. There we go. And then we just have to load up a snake. So 70 damage from each snake, and there's one snake per hole, and there are 8 holes. So that's what, 560? Yeah, it is important to learn a little bit of math, but that was the quickest kill so far, because I didn't have to jump around the field in order to open all of the holes. And for those of you who are actually trying to beat the in-game times for each of these bosses, you could totally use this strategy on them. It would work too. You might have to be a little bit quick with some of them, though. Anyways, next up is King Man, and this fight actually is very funny, even though I don't think it's a lot of fun. So the knight just jumps into the hole. This is a chess-themed boss, so King Man's next inclination is to set up 2 more knights, and then they just go in the holes too. So he's gonna set up 2 more knights. Horsey go down the hole, apparently. Unfortunately, because I am opening the holes early, it means that I would really like to find my snake chips very quickly. Unfortunately, there's only 1. Yeah, unfortunately, even with the increase in my hand size at the start of each battle, it is still a bit annoying to have to rely on RNG in order to find the snake chips. And I have to make more holes with the panel out chips too. And then something really annoying happens. He sets up 2 more knights. They can only go on those panels because those are the only open panels, which means I can't use the panel out chip on them because the knights, they just block it. Now these chess pieces are actually destructible by the hammer and cannonball chips that are also in my folder. And that might actually be viable because King Man has a bunch of different responses to moves that you can make against him. Like if you destroy his chess pieces over and over again, he might pull out a rook, which is basically just an obstacle with a lot more HP to it, and it's harder to destroy. But maybe that's more ideal than having knights hopping around. I'll have to check that out. Again, this run is a work in progress, but the basic idea of the run is here, so I hope it gets into a marathon sometime. And you know, now that I think about it, this upcoming boss is actually exclusive to the blue version. It is Bullman, and in the white version of the game, he is replaced by Mistman, who might be better for this run than Bullman, because Bullman has attacks that you cannot reflect. These bowling pins coming at you, they have the breaking property, like the cannonball and hammer chips, so you can't really reflect them. The only attack you're able to reflect from Bullman is when he has bowling pins on your side of the field and he knocks them down and they come flying at you. This is a really weird boss. This was actually a fan-created boss. There's a couple of them in Battle Network 3, King Man and Mistman being the other ones. So I might have to think about running this on white version because you would be facing Mistman here instead of Bullman. Anyways, you can very easily catch him with a cannonball because he will always be in the middle row when he starts this pin attack. This is so weird to talk about. Anyways, here are those bowling pins I mentioned. Unfortunately, with them in my way, I can't open the holes to make more snakes. So this will have to be enough, and it probably will be enough. I think I got the wood plus 30 and attack plus 10 chips. So let's see, there's 8 holes. 8 times 40 is like 500 or something. No, it's 320. Yeah, whatever. He's gone now. I guess we knocked his pins down. Yeah. Onto Secret Area 3 and the last 3 bosses. There's a bit of a walk to the location they're in, so I might run into an encounter on the way. I guess I should really check and see if Sneak Run can actually avoid the encounters here, but every time I tried to run from an encounter, I got away on the first attempt, so I guess I can actually just run from all the encounters and it'll be fine. So, either way, Secret Area 3. Luckily, I do not have to install the Press Customizer program in order to get past any of the thin line areas that you need a customizer program to get past. I don't gotta do that. I just have to walk. And all of the areas are open already, so I don't have to do any virus gauntlets or anything like that. There's going to be a staircase, and then we will have the final 3, which are Protoman, Darkman, and, I'm not kidding, the game calls him Japan Man. What was wrong with Yamato Man, right? Anyways, Protoman is a boss that I like to, that I basically prefer using Reflect against, because reflecting all of his attacks seems a little bit easier than relying on the snakes. If you are on the bottom row, then the Reflect basically always hits him, because he has to go to the bottom row in order to use the Sonic Boom attack, which is that flying sword strike thing. And you can't really area grab him either. I tried area grabbing in order to get more holes out of him, but he has an area grab of his own, so he's just going to counter with that if you try to area grab him. So, I'm using the Reflect strategy here. If I can get his HP down low enough, then I can switch to using snakes. Yeah, I'm also not completely perfect at reflecting his attacks. They come out very quickly. The Sonic Boom and then that Fighter Sword, which is the very, very long sword that can strike the back row. But I have the snake chips now, so as long as I can make enough holes, then I should be able to finish him. I'm going to reflect some more. That's how you reflect those attacks, by the way. I'm just going to do some more reflecting, and then once I have his HP down low enough, I'm going to open all of the holes. So this is 5 times 40, 200 damage plus whatever the attack plus chips give, which should be enough. I have 3 snake chips, so 600 damage minimum. And with the added attack plus chips, that was enough to destroy him. So next up, I think I challenged Darkman next? Yeah. I don't know why I didn't go to Japan Man first. I guess my heart just sang to me and said, get Darkman over with first, because he's probably the hardest out of the set. So, at the start of the battle, you can immediately reflect back at him. You don't want to be lined up with him when he turns yellow. His colors tell you what kind of attack he's going to use, and the electric attack cannot be reflected. He will turn yellow when he's about to do that. You can reflect the flame and ice attacks, but not the yellow one. And you can also reflect these bats, which is a little bit strange, but as long as he's lined up with you, that'll give you some extra damage to work with. Less time spent waiting for all of the snakes. But I do have to eventually get them all into my folder. And I could also use some area grabs and panel out chips to create more holes for myself. And those bats only ever attack the first 3 rows. So anything that you area grab into, you could totally just hide from the bats there. I should have created another set of holes on the far right column. I don't know why I did that. But I've got the snakes now. And this probably isn't enough to get rid of him quite yet. I'm gonna have to wait for some more chips. I think I only had 2 snake chips here. No, I had all 3 of them, and it's still... No, it is enough, actually. What am I thinking? I recently learned that he has additional attacks that you can reflect, oddly enough, even though it seems like you shouldn't. I mean, if a giant battle axe came at your face, I don't think you would be able to reflect that very easily, or you wouldn't think you could. Alright, Japan Man. And I really do not like calling him that, by the way. He's got the highest amount of HP out of all of the bosses, but I did figure out a bit of a strategy to him. He has 2 different attacks, one that he uses from 2 spaces away, and another that he uses from 3 spaces away. You want him to use the attack that he has when you are 3 spaces away, because that's very easy to reflect. The other one can be reflected, but you'll still take damage because it does multiple hits. and I don't know why I used a cannonball to make a hole there. I think I wanted to hit him for some extra damage, but it would have been better to just continuously reflect his attacks. So, gonna have to wait for the hole to go away, and I made another hole again. This fight, this was probably one of the hardest ones to figure out, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, I know this fight very well thanks to another video that I made, but doing it under these conditions, you know, forces you to rethink your strategy. So this is definitely one of the fights that can be improved the most, but I think I know how to improve it, so I'm going to keep working on that. And that's going to be it for the time trial speedrun video, and hope this gets into a marathon, because I would really like to show off Battle Network without having to play the entire game for 2 hours straight. So I guess we'll see what happens. I would love for all of my submitted games to get into the marathon, but, you know, there's such weird choices for games that I can't imagine they all would. Anyways, that's it for me, and see you next time for whatever comes up. I'm Ephraim225, and this has been Battle Network 3 Blue version. Or White version, or whichever version you want to see later, everybody.